We're so lucky to have with us again, CEO and founder of Nouveau Monde Graphite. This is Eric Desaulnier. Thank you for joining us and giving us this update on what's going on with you up north.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Zach and Jesse. It's been a long time since we spoke. I really like your jersey. I would hope we have those batteries already manufactured in North America by the time, but it's coming.
Yeah, so I mean, we're so excited because we've been driving around our Cybertruck with the 4680s in them and just thinking about, when is Nouveau Monde Graphite going to be in here? So let us know what's been going on with you.
Since the last 2 years, we've been very active making the right product for the customers. And we were qualifying our product, making sure they understand what we do, we understand their needs. And finally, you probably saw it, in February, we were able to strike a very important deal for us with Panasonic, who will buy 42% of our future production, and the same for GM for another 42%. So two marvelous partner for us, and they are very helpful, investing equity, investing their time, their human resource, and their lobbying power. So I was fortunate as a Canadian to be invited to the White House twice already, and earlier this week we had our second meeting. So quite exciting moment for finally something in the supply chain for graphite that they realize it's very important.
You realized this years ago. I mean, what is it, 2015? You knew something was going to happen, right? How did you know all the way back then that this mineral was going to be so important?
Yeah, well, you remember when they announced the Gigafactory, the first one in Nevada, Panasonic and Tesla. We've looked what was going in a battery at the time. It was a long time, and where this graphite might come from, and already over 10 years ago, we knew it's 100% coming from China. So it's not even 80, it's all coming from China. So if we are building finally lithium-ion capacity in North America, and at that magnitude, when you do the math, for 40 gigawatt hour is about 40,000 tons of graphite needed. So we knew at some point, if we do a multiple of those gigafactories, that somebody at some point will appreciate the fact that we're building a large-scale supply chain of this product that is the largest component in the lithium-ion battery in weight. But you can know it. You can be convincing enough to raise a bit of money with investors to get going and do everything right, step-by-step approach, doing the right strategy. But you don't really know if you're sure until they commit to it, the customer. So we're very fortunate now that the customer are committing financially with their balance sheet, with long-term offtake agreement. We're building not a short-term project, and we're building a generational project. The mine will go at least 50 years. We said 26 officially for compliance reason, but it's obvious that this mine will go for a long time. So to convince investors to invest the billions needed to make a generational project, we need customers who are willing to commit to their current specification for a long time. So we cannot really work with the cell makers that are just starting and they're not very sure, and they cannot just commit for 10 years to their specification like Panasonic and GM just did, So we needed to have tier one customer like that who are committing to the strategy that we've laid down many years ago. And so now today my investors will say, oh, you were right. We're fortunate that you were right and we trusted you.
Well, I mean, I think that you're selling yourself a little short there. I mean, back in 2015, you say, oh, well, they opened the Gigafactory. It was not the size that the Gigafactory is today. And there was no promise that Tesla was going to be successful or that electric vehicles were going to be successful back then. True. What gave you that confidence to say, not only are EVs going to be the future, but that there will be graphite in those EVs in 10 years, 15 years?
Yeah, there's a bit of the fact as well that I'm a geophysicist. So I knew that finding graphite is the highest chance of success for me with geophysics. And where I live close to Ottawa in Gatineau, we are 15-minute airtime from the only graphite mine in North America that operates since '89. So we knew with the thing that I know the best, I have a master's degree in geophysics. I was doing geophysics for many junior exploration companies. So I knew that finding graphite is quite easy if you do the proper approach, like exploring the new world, large scale, and the on-top territory that was never explored in the right kind of geological setting. So that's what we've done early enough. I did what I knew the best. I did what I knew that I have a bit of an edge compared other explorer using geophysics and that technique for exploration. You know, I was targeting graphite, and then I was hopeful a little bit, and I needed luck that the graphite market was evolving in the way that Elon Musk wanted. So for sure, I drive a Tesla since a long time, and now 2 Teslas. And I was praying for Elon Musk to be right and convince the rest of the world that we all need electric. You look current numbers now; it's not a Elon Musk story anymore. It's really a story for all the OEMs are getting with more or less success in it. And the race is on, who will win that race in the future. So I needed a bit of a luck. I needed Elon to be successful. So now I think we are all there because somehow Elon Musk demonstrated to the capital market, to the consumers, to the governments that it's feasible to do a fantastic car that is close to zero emission.
Now, what if us investors in Nouveau Monde weren't so lucky to have Eric Desaulniers in charge of this, and there was nobody looking for graphite until just recently, until just now when the Model Y is the best-selling car in North America, or actually I should say the best-selling car in the world. It's an electric car. Oh, hey, we should look for some graphite. What if you started, say, last year? Where would you be? Would you be where you are today, or would it be a little bit different story?
Developing those projects, people that are doing it since 2 years, they cannot be at the level we are. Developing a mine, in average, it's 12 years from discovery. So this is the average. So we discovered a deposit in late 2014-15. We'll be in production at best in 2027. So we are in construction now. We had finally those offtakes, and now we have everything needed to complete project financing with governments, with customers and investors before the end of the year. So we are in production 2027, 13 years after first discovery. And, we are at it developing very quickly. And that's why earlier this year, we acquired the only other natural graphite deposit in North America that we believe could be brought into production in a relatively near time frame, the Watan mining project we acquired. Because developing a mine, this is really overlooked by the OEMs and the cell makers. It takes a long time. You need to understand when you do a pit, how the nature will behave, how the water will behave, if the pit, the geotechnical will be strong enough. Every mine is different. You need to understand the nature around the mine, the human around the mine, what they want. There's so much things to do to develop a mine before building a concentrator. This is the easy part. So it's a bit overlooked. So really our business model is to have this expertise developing mine in North America. And we have the 2 largest and most advanced natural graphite deposit in North America. And now we are connected to all Asian companies who now suddenly feel in the last year that we need to, since December 1st, really 2023, they are connecting with us. Hey, can you sell us some flake, some concentrate? So we do a transformation plant to do the anode material. Say, well, no, we're very well positioned now. We will transform all our concentrates from our mine into this anode material for Panasonic, GM, and other customers we're talking to. But we needed to realize that it's not a 2 year thing building a mine, it's a 10 years thing. So now we're in a position to really have those market share. And even though we are small companies, nobody can go around us because we have those assets based in Canada, permitted, that we have a lot of data on it. The government are super supportive of our endeavor. So that's very positive for long term for the company.
Now, when investors look at your stock chart, so that's NMG on the New York Stock Exchange, there was a lot of excitement a few years ago.
Across the board. It wasn't just about Nouveau Monde.
It was EV, anything with the word EV in it did really well.
Or slightly attached to it, yes.
And then it's happened to pretty much all companies. It looks like your stock chart follows Tesla's stock chart, where it's just like, oh, boring Tesla. Oh, boring Nouveau Monde. And it's like, what is going on with investors here? I feel like this is the most exciting part, where Tesla has proved that they're not going to go bankrupt. They're not going anywhere. You've proved the same thing. And yet investors seem to be like, ho hum. This looks like a really great chart for future growth. An explosion of growth. But I don't know, I'm always just disappointed in investors when they can't see something that's coming. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I think there was a bit of overexcitement in 2021 for sure. Like we were worth $1 billion and we were light year of the development we are today. But today it's quite the opposite. It's always like that. It will come back. There will be another moment where people will be all excited again and overexcited again. But in the meantime, why they were excited in 2021 about NMG? It's because we were the most advanced at the time. We never stopped working on our assets. So when people are looking, you need to be the real deal in town. So we started the consolidation process by the acquisition of Watan. We've started to make those announcements with tier one customers. We'll continue doing that. We'll continue to develop the business. And one day people will be very excited again. And hopefully they will see us as the one of the only crazy enough group of people. Like we are 120 motivated people here in Montreal, 40 engineers, 10 PhDs, and we're at it. We have the right customer, the right backing from our large shareholders who understands long term. And one day the retail market and will come back. So, but we cannot just plan with always the excitement. We need to plan long term on the fundamental value of the company. You'll see other move we'll be doing. It's quite exciting. We see that the large corporation realize that they have no choice to work with a small company like us. It's not if the large major company, mining company, were doing it already. So Graphite is a very unique situation where it's all happening in China. So if you talk about it, like Rio Tinto, Vale, these guys, they have no clue how to process graphite. In lithium, you have some major company options outside of China, but in graphite, it's all China. I'm not naive enough to believe that Panasonic and GM are super happy to have to invest and get involved and put their balance sheet at risk with a small company like NMG, but they have no choice. They need to do it. They need partners like us who are committed to building graphite on time for them. Otherwise, all the billions invested on the cell making, on the cathode making will be worth less if they don't have the graphite. They need at least one alternative. And we needed to have the perfect business plan to convince them that even though we are starting up, we are a smaller company than the established Chinese supplier, we are the best option for them as an alternative that they need to own. So that's why they wanted to be investors. They need to own that. A third of our shareholding now is large market participant in lithium ion and Mitsui, Panasonic, and GM. So this is the right partners to build a project on solid ground to make sure we do everything right. You need your partner and your investors to need you more than yourself. They need our product to get in their plant on time in 2027. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So time is very important now that the government and the geopolitics is clear that we need alternative for this essential product. Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about Watan. I mean, it's so far north that the even though it's still in Canada, the name stops being French as you go further north, right? Like, so this is way up there.
It means tamarack. So we consulted with the Innu First Nation there to have a name that represents this area. So it's an area where tamarack grows. So they came back with that area where tamarack grows. But you can imagine in Innu, it's pretty long. So we just kept Watan. You're right, it's foreign art. So the previous operator, Mason Graphite, invested about $100 million in the project. So it's quite advanced. Like they drilled it every 25 meters. They did a lot of the important geotechnical, hydrogeology, all the environmental work. So it's a pretty advanced asset. It was, in fact, more advanced than our own asset 10 years ago. But they developed it at 50,000 tons per annum for 240 years because at the time the market was even smaller. When we developed our mine at 100,000 tons per annum, we decided in 2018 to go at 100,000 tons per annum for the Matawini mine. The market thought we were crazy. 100,000 tons is way too big. It's crazy. But we said, it will be there at the right time. And now in 2027, we'll be in production. And today we're already sold out on the phase 2 on Matawini with GM Panasonic. So now we're already building, instead of 50,000 tons per annum of concentrate to produce anode material, will be 10 times bigger. So 500,000 tons per annum at 24-year mine life instead of 240 because I don't have time to wait 240 years. Yeah. So now you're right, it's further north. So you needed a bigger deposit like that. And it's halfway to the iron ore projects going even further north. So there's a road already there. There's electricity at the because we have dam there. So, it's $1 billion US project to produce 5 times the size of what we're doing on Matawini, thanks to the grade, thanks to the size of the deposit. And there's a deep sea port in the town of Baie-Comeau, not so far from there. So it's a perfect setup to produce concentrate to be sent in the US, potentially an expansion of our Bécancour transformation plant, most likely also European expansion and Middle East expansion. And Middle East, they are quite aggressive to diversify their economy, so they're quite interactive with us. So it's quite exciting. We need to take those market share while nobody is doing it outside China. So we need to be that consolidator and be that solution for this product now that we know how to do it. Finally, after all those years of breaking equipments, making it wrong, and finally making it right at the right economics. So now we need to take market shares because I believe for some reason our competitor in China are not invited to that growth, so we need to be there.
Explain to our viewers why we can't just keep getting graphite from China, though. What is the advantage of us here in North America getting the graphite from North America?
Well, first of all, there's fundamental things like logistics. So there was you remember during COVID time, there was a bit of a logistics issue. So our customers were quite worried when the container were not arriving. They don't have a huge inventory in their gigafactories. So having a sole supply from one jurisdiction is a challenge. There's all the geopolitics now. It wouldn't be very good for this EV transition if China was invading Taiwan tomorrow morning. So there's this risk that the private companies need to consider, like our consumer. They need at least one alternative for sure. And carbon neutrality is becoming more and more important. As you know, we are carbon neutral. We have all electric solution made by Caterpillar. So we're making sure we are using all the hydro as much as possible. So we're 14 times less carbon intensive. We're guaranteeing a carbon neutral product to Panasonic and GM, so they don't need to compensate. So they can more easily achieve their ambition to reduce by half their carbon emission. So they were intending to have some cost of compensation. So now we're avoiding that cost from them. So it's justified to have some greenium, as we say. So that's really the benefits. And now when the U.S. government is implementing 25% tariffs on natural graphite starting 2026, on top of making those companies not eligible anymore to all the IRA incentives that they still procure in 2027 graphite from a foreign entity of concern, including China. So now, it's clear they need an alternative. So if they were not sure before, now they are. And hopefully our Canadian government follow the same strict measures. Now it's clear that for a U.S. market, they have a financial incentive to purchase from a Canadian supplier that comply to all those rules.
I remember talking to you years ago, and you had a big dream of having electric mining vehicles. How is that working out? I mean, I know you have a deal with Caterpillar. Maybe you can tell us more about that.
Yeah, we have a team today in Tucson. So I visited last year in Tucson, the first all-electric big, it was a 240 tonners. I think they were making it for Anglo, I believe, and they invited all their future customers interested about. So we were with Anglo, Rio, all the big guys, and Nouveau Monde Graphite will buy 16 equipment. These guys buy thousands. Our COO is not from mining originally, so Eric, why are we invited there? So yeah, because we are the first one that Caterpillar is working on an all-electric solution, not only one piece of truck, but all pieces of equipment, all the charging station, and also the job site solutions. They use our site as a demonstration site for developing a zero emission solution, not only a piece of equipment. That's why our team is very interactive with them. Our mining engineers once in a while go in Tucson, and we cannot disclose precisely where they are at and which model they are precisely developing for their own confidentiality reason. They want to announce it to the market when they're ready. But I can tell you from the top management, Jim and Denise, CEO and president of Caterpillar, they are involved on a monthly basis on our project to get update, and it's quite an exciting relationship. At the same time, we initiated our own R&D project converting one truck, all truck, prior to our deal with Caterpillar, and we are receiving it Friday, tomorrow. So it's Thursday when I talk to you now, but we're receiving it tomorrow. It seems to work fine. So we'll have one piece of equipment. It's not for production. We'll leave that to the professional of Caterpillar to be productive and all this. But we have one piece that was converted by the same group who developed initially the Lion electric bus, a public research center. So in Montreal. So that would be interesting to have it for our own usage, to do different things for our demonstration plan for now. So I'm looking forward to look at this big truck on site. And now we are starting to receive Cybertrucks, Rivian stuff, options also to complement only the trucking needs that we have on the project. Yeah.
That's great. I mean, because you guys up in Canada, you've got all of that hydroelectric power. It's so much cheaper. It's so much cleaner. And I mean, it must just make it so much cheaper to operate than big diesel trucks.
Absolutely. That's why I'm driving Teslas, and half of the electric cars in Canada are sold in Quebec, where we have 100% of renewable. We don't have any coal-based or other form of electricity. So that's why it makes a lot of economical sense for our government to push this transition. Yeah.
That's awesome. We've bumped into a lot of investors who love to talk about mining materials now because they've finally figured out that there's materials in batteries, but they hardly ever mention graphite. They'll talk about cobalt, they'll talk about nickel, they'll talk about lithium. And then when you do mention graphite, they just they look at you funny, like, I've never heard of that. And I just think it is funny how a lot of this is just education. They just hear in the news words like cobalt a lot.
Or lithium.
But I mean, those actually are just kind of trace materials that go into these batteries. And in a lot of cases, like cobalt, aren't even going into the batteries anymore. It's just funny how, I don't know, people have heard of EVs over and over again, but they just haven't really learned about the makeup of the battery. Have you found that as well, or do you think people are getting more educated about it?
Tell me more about that. I am doing it since 2011 now, trying to educate people of 1 kilogram per kilowatt hour of graphite. Just this simple math. Just do the math. It's 100 kilo of graphite, give or take, in the Model X, 100 kilowatt hours. You can do easy maths, but I need to do it again today. So it's okay. We need to remind people. But the most, I think the people remember when they make money, So they saw this, or when they could have made money and they did not. So when lithium is doing tenfold, they remember there's probably lithium in a lithium-ion battery. But yeah, our time will come. Like 10 years ago, the graphite price was 3 times higher. Today, the graphite price still low. It's at the bottom. Even in China, it's never been so low in the last 10 years. Even though the demand is soaring, there was a bit of an oversupply in China. Even if you look, if you read Mandarin, which a lot of that's another point why people see it so opaque. It's because there's no plain English financial statements releasing any financials on graphite in the world. It's all in Mandarin. We need to hire proper bank that has offices in China to tell us how much money our competitors are doing. And now we see in the last year or so, even in China, they're not making any money. So it was important for us to explain that to our customers. In North America, if you want a supply chain, you don't even need to look at what's happening in China. We have a minimum equity IRR. We have a minimum floor price to support the debt package we're negotiating. So if you want us to exist, you need this price. So we have a very healthy pricing mechanism in our offtake that satisfy our equity holder, debtor, and customer. But it needed time to explain and to show, our costs and how it works here. And if you want us to exist, this is it. Otherwise, we need to build those things. OPEX-wise, once we'll be in production, thanks to our hydroelectricity, our proximity between the mine and the transformation asset, proximity to customers, tariffs also helps. But even though without the tariffs, on the OPEX, we are very resilient and competitive with China. But it's on CapEx. To build those things, we need to justify the return to our investors. And it's like if we had to build again those aluminum smelter that we have in Quebec. We have 9 of the 10 aluminum smelter. A lot of it was built during Second World War when the U.S. government just sent $300 million at the time loan. So figured out in Canada, your job is to build aluminum for the war. And now today it's still in operation. They slowly expanded, and now it's a huge part of our economy that is very resilient, even though China sometimes is dumping aluminum. So it's same for graphite, but this time we have the graphite in the ground. Don't even have the bauxite in the ground. We need to import the bauxite. It's only transformation. Like, it's not as much energy intensive, but very close in terms of energy intensity. And the electricity plays a very important factor in our cost structure. So what we do in Quebec and graphite will be very resilient long term, and we can be this hub for North America and Europe, being able to produce anode material in a long term. We need to be competitive with China. Otherwise, all of us will pay more expensive car forever, and that's not the purpose, So we need it. We need to specialize. And in Quebec, geology, hydroelectricity, proximity to customer, our expertise will be very good at making a good product for North America. And that's a little bit what I'm explaining to the White House once in a while when they invite us.
Do they get it? Like, do you think they're getting it?
Earlier this week, I was very impressed. I must say, I had the chance to discuss with a very large group of OEM were there, a bunch of smaller graphite companies like us, but I believe we were one of the biggest there, so a lot of startups as well, and all the government officials. And they were like, what's missing, guys, for you to build as quick as possible? And you see, they are thoughtful, they want to help. I really feel that even some of us had the follow-on one-on-ones in the afternoon. They hear you saying comments, they want to help. And, without revealing too much of our confidential stuff there, I was asking for a very precise thing. And this morning, like it was 2 days ago, yesterday we received an email from the right person of that organization that we needed to be more active. And boom, this morning the meeting, and now we are full-blown priority for them. So I believe the U.S. government should be part somehow of our capital structure, considering that we'll sell 100% of our production to the U.S. So there should be some incentive for us to do that when our customers are based in the U.S. We're a fundamental part of the whole supply chain. So yeah, it's not because we're Canadian that we're not very important for American jobs and American economy.
It's such an interesting historical perspective that you bring up about the aluminum smelters, because a lot of people want to say like, oh, World War II. Well, that was geopolitics. That's why it's called World War II. That's geo. Could have called it Geo World II. But really, it was a geopolitical struggle, and we needed all hands on deck. We needed cheap electricity to make aluminum, and it's a very similar struggle that we have now. Now, we aren't really at the same level of war that we were during World War II, thankfully, but it's not all that dissimilar, and it makes sense what you're saying, why the U.S. government would have an incentive to want to be getting some of this graphite out of Canada as opposed to being stuck getting it from China.
Right.
Yeah. I would say this time we won't be at war, you're right. But the planet is at war with us. So it's even more important that we act with the same sense of urgency. Sadly, we're not, because we're all, okay, it's okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 degrees of global warming, whatever. No, it's important. We need to, the planet will be more and more at war with us. So it's a war, it's a geo war. So as you said, so we need to act with the same level of urgency, and we need to act together. We need to find our strength all together to make sure it won't create too much cost inflation, and those EV cars become affordable. I don't know about you, but there's only 2 scenarios that can happen in the next 5-10 years. It's either we do it, we build the onshoring and we build the supply chains, and we can make affordable EVs for the mass, or we do AI to make sure we have less EV on the road, but we need to do something. Or the alternative is we surrender. So, okay, China, we're better than us at doing it, and they have cheaper car, and we allow China to sell car in the US very cheap for the mass. I don't think the second would happen. Seeing the tariffs, it's 100% tariffs on the Chinese car. And I don't think anyway they had intention to try to penetrate US market. So we need to act on that. We need to build a supply chain. We need to make sure company like NNG is very competitive, and we work hand to hand with customer to find solution, and we need to do it.
Eric, you saw the whole EV thing coming years before most people did. So I'm really interested in your opinion on this. Elon's not only working on EVs right now, he's now working on AI, robots, and the robo-taxi. And I'm just wondering what your thoughts are. I mean, talk about needing a lot of batteries. Elon tweeted out the other day something like we might need more humanoid robots than there are humans. So that would be something like 10 billion humanoid robots. And each of those batteries, even though they're smaller than a car battery, is still a pretty big battery. So we could be talking about the need for batteries for decades to come. But what are your thoughts on the autonomous robot and on the robo-taxi?
Yeah, so we'll have a electric mining truck and the electric robots instead of humans on the mine. That would be next step. Is the far ahead vision. But I think short term, do you believe that the AI will be there to replace few cars on the road, first of all? I was in San Francisco a few weeks ago and I had the chance. I'm happy today to say it was a chance to try a Waymo, Waymo driverless taxi, and I was, whoa, an investor that I met there ordered it for me, and it's kind of like Uber. It's fantastic. It's just, at the same time, I had the chance to have on my 2 Teslas, it was released, the full self-autonomous a month or two ago for all of us. It was like, and I tested it, and it's fantastic. It's the future. It's not perfect yet, but in the next 5 years, there will be so much inflationary pressure on everybody need to drive electric because of global warming. However, not everybody is able to pay themselves an electric car, especially in highly dense area like even Montreal here or any big cities where you cannot recharge everywhere. People don't need to own a car. They won't have the money anyway, but they can own a subscription that like Uber or Waymo or those things. So I really believe in the next 5 years, the AI, the government will be forced to help driverless. And I think that's the next step. One day there will be a lot of humanoid, yes, and I'm looking forward to know more about it, where it could play an important role. But short term, I believe we will never sell 15 million EV car in North America like we are selling 15 million ICE cars. It's possible. My bet is we'll be at 5 million, and it's the best we can do in terms of onshoring. And I know only on graphite, 5 million. Like if we do both, like now it will be 500,000 EV. We can help Panasonic and GM with what we're building for 1.5 billion. If we do the other mile that will be in production, if we are superstar in 2030, it will be 2.5 million EV we can support with the graphite. Otherwise, it comes from China. But at some point, even China, they cannot cope with the growth that they only have in China. So I'd see at some point we won't be able to do more than 5 million EV reasonably in North America. So we'll need to share those cars, and AI will play a role with the inflation going up. And I don't care buying a fantastic car that is always clean and that I subscribe. I want always a new Model X instead of my old Model X 2017. Always a new. I don't need to own it. So I think this is the future, more and more. But we'll see.
That's great. I love to hear it from you because, you really do have the ability to see ahead where a lot of people just, I don't know why. So many people just can't seem to see what's about to happen. And I love it when people have, long-term visions of the future. So I'm really excited for your company. When I saw that you guys were investing in Watan, I was like, wow, that's such a great timing for that. And the fact that you're bringing in, 100,000 TPA, that's just like, that's going to hit at just the right time, I feel like.
And I see the HOV lane at some point will be all self-autonomous. And I'm looking forward to see all the cars talking to each other. No lights anymore needed. Just they will be all stuck like a train close to each other on the HOV lane. No human allowed on that lane. That will be the first step, most likely. But
Well, now that we have our Cybertruck, I feel like we should go up and visit Eric at their mine and bring our e-bikes and ride along their e-bike trails. You've got these beautiful trails right along the mines, and I feel like maybe this summer is the time to do it.
Yeah, you can come in the pit with the Cybertruck, and yes, this summer actually we're very active, doing more and more kilometers of the bike path for the community. So it's quite exciting. We would welcome your Cybertruck for sure. You will be a superstar. We did not receive ours yet in the community. So.
Oh wow! All right. Hopefully we can get past the border.
All right.
Awesome, Eric. It was great talking to you today. Thank you so much for updating us on what's going on with Nouveau Monde, and I'm just so excited about the future.
Yeah, super. No, you just need to remember at the border, you cannot have a rifle on the top of the Cybertruck. So they will believe it's a tank, but otherwise you'll be fine.
We'll have to take our rocket launchers off the side. Okay.
It's allowed in the US, but not in Canada. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.